The night Clara Whitmore was wheeled into the delivery room, the rain outside the Ohio hospital came down like a warning the world itself was trying to give. Her hands trembled over her swollen belly, her breath shallow, her face pale in a way that made the fluorescent lights look cruel. She was only 27, carrying new life inside her, yet she felt older than time itself, tired from months of stress, betrayal, and loneliness that no one seemed willing to see. Down the hall, laughter echoed softly, careless and sharp, belonging to people who should have been praying for her survival instead. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us humanity is still alive, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that are still searching for light. Clara had married Jonathan Whitmore believing love was something that endured storms. Jonathan had once been gentle, a man who held her hand during church services and whispered promises of forever. But after the pregnancy, something in him hardened. Business trips became frequent, patience vanished, and his mother Margaret and sister Denise treated Clara like a burden that had overstayed its welcome. In the background of this slow unraveling stood Vanessa, a woman from Jonathan's office, polished and confident, whose presence at family dinners was explained away as harmless, until it no longer could be. Clara knew about Vanessa long before anyone admitted it. She felt it in the way Jonathan avoided her eyes, in the silence that replaced affection, in the cold discussions about money and inconvenience. When complications arose during her pregnancy, Margaret blamed Clara's weak body, claiming she was bringing shame to the Whitmore name. Denise echoed the cruelty, and Vanessa watched with thinly veiled satisfaction, already imagining a future where Clara no longer existed. The labor came early, violent and frightening. Clara collapsed in their large suburban home in Columbus, clutching her stomach while Jonathan hesitated, annoyed more than alarmed. It was a neighbor, Mrs. Helen Crawford, who called the ambulance. By the time Clara reached the hospital, she was fading fast, whispering prayers between cries, thinking only of her unborn child and begging God not to let the baby suffer for the sins of others. In the waiting area, Jonathan sat with his mother, sister, and Vanessa. There were no tears, no clasped hands, no anxious pacing. Margaret spoke of inheritance paperwork, Denise scrolled through her phone, and Vanessa leaned close to Jonathan, her hand resting where Clara's once had. They believed the outcome was already decided. The doctors had warned of complications, and in their hearts, they had already buried Clara. Inside the operating room, chaos reigned. Nurses moved quickly, machines beeped sharply, and Clara's vision blurred as fear and pain overwhelmed her. She thought of her childhood in a small Indiana town, of church bells on Sunday mornings, of her father teaching her that faith meant holding on even when everything fell apart. She prayed silently, surrendering what little strength she had left. Hours passed. Then silence. A doctor finally emerged, his expression heavy. He informed the family that Clara had not survived the labor. The words barely registered as tragedy to those waiting. Vanessa exhaled in relief, Margaret crossed herself without sincerity, and Jonathan stared at the floor, more concerned with what came next than what had been lost. They believed the story ended there. But the hospital corridor carried another truth. Clara's body lay still, yet life had refused to surrender. Against all odds, 2 heartbeats had been detected at the last possible moment. Twins. The emergency team had worked frantically, pulling life from the edge of death. Though Clara was gone, her children were alive, fragile but breathing, tiny proofs that light could exist even in darkness. When the doctor leaned in to deliver this revelation, his voice low and urgent, the atmosphere shifted. Celebration curdled into shock. Vanessa's smile collapsed. Margaret's certainty fractured. Jonathan felt the ground tilt beneath him as reality crashed through the lies he had built. 2 children meant responsibility, accountability, a permanent reminder of the woman they had discarded. The twins were placed in the neonatal intensive care unit, surrounded by soft beeps and gentle hands. A boy and a girl, small but fierce, clinging to life with a strength that felt almost holy. Nurses whispered about miracles. Mrs. Helen Crawford arrived quietly, tears streaming as she prayed beside the incubators, promising Clara's children they would not be alone. News traveled quickly through extended family and church circles. The story of Clara's death and the surviving twins stirred hearts. People remembered her kindness, her volunteer work, her quiet endurance. Donations appeared. Support gathered. And slowly, pressure mounted on Jonathan, forcing him to confront the weight of what he had done. Vanessa disappeared within days, unwilling to attach herself to responsibility. Denise retreated into excuses. Margaret, once proud and loud, found herself isolated, judged by the same community she believed she ruled. Jonathan stood alone, haunted by images of Clara's tired smile and the realization that the twins would grow up knowing their mother only through stories and prayers. The twins, named Matthew and Grace, grew stronger week by week. Their survival felt like a message written in flesh and breath, that love does not die with the body, that sacrifice can echo forward. Jonathan visited them awkwardly at first, guilt choking every step. Nurses watched him closely, aware that remorse does not always equal redemption. As months passed, Jonathan began to change, not dramatically, but slowly, painfully. He attended church again. He sought counseling. He learned to hold his children, trembling, terrified of failing them the way he failed their mother. Margaret softened, her pride broken by loss, while Denise moved away, unable to face the truth of her cruelty. Just before the end of this story, we ask you to leave a comment sharing what this journey made you feel, your thoughts, your prayers, or even a single word of hope. Your voice matters more than you know. Years later, Matthew and Grace would walk across a playground in a small Ohio town, laughter ringing through the air. Clara's photo would sit framed in their home, surrounded by fresh flowers every Sunday. Jonathan would tell them stories of a mother who loved deeply, believed fiercely, and gave everything she had for them. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel pain, hope, or reflection, please engage with this video, like it, share it, and comment, so more hearts can be reached. Sometimes, the deepest loss gives birth to the strongest miracles, and sometimes, the quietest woman leaves behind the loudest legacy.